All right, let's talk about the Archicad tip of the week today. Our topic today is creating an office library. And let's talk about sort of the three basic library parts to an office library. First is going to be the Archicad library, right? So, no matter what, even if you've got an office library, detail library, whatever you've got linked to Archicad, you're still going to want to load your Archicad library. Now, one thing to always keep in mind is that if you are an Archicad 27 or older, you're going to want to load your migration libraries from those older projects, or those exact libraries if you're only using those library parts from the Archicad 27 or older. If you are an Archicad 28 or future versions, you'll be using the new library packages options, which are version independent. You will also want to load, of course, for an office library, it would be your office library, which would be loaded from wherever it would exist on your system, probably from a network drive with a folder set for your office libraries. And then you can locate that, and then it'll show you the path, and then it's loaded in. You may also have either a project library that is external or a project library that is embedded. Either one works. A lot of times people think of the embedded library as their project library, meaning that as they add new library parts, they simply have a project library that is part of that embedded library, and they add library parts to that. Nothing wrong with that. Always keep in mind that as you add library parts to it, as you add textures to it, it will grow in size. So keep that in mind because there may be some point if the project file starts to get really big that you may want to save all your library parts and your textures externally and then load that library externally to reduce the file size. Also, if you are using objects, you may want to put, and these are office objects, you may want to put a prefix in front of them. This is something I've seen a number of our clients do so that they can very quickly see which are their library parts that are specific to their office versus library parts they're loading either from Archicad or third parties. And so that's a really nice way of doing it so that, you just have your office library part very differently distinguished from others that you're using. Also, project-specific objects may have, and I've seen this too, where they have a project number. So that, again, you're distinguishing those very specific project objects from general objects that you're using. Now, the other question that's often asked is, do you use an open library system or a closed library, or I should say not closed, but a controlled library system? An open library system means that anyone in the office can add objects to the office library. And this is great because it makes it easy to manage. You simply allow anyone in the office access to your office library folder. They can add, change, edit any of those library parts there. It makes it really transparent and easy for people to do. The only problem to that, an issue, is it can create problematic library parts that are placed in that office library that can cause issues in the file. So, you really have to, if you do it that way, make sure people test it before it goes through some sort of test or some sort of work to make sure that they're not problematic. But, it is something that does allow sort of the whole team to have access to that. The other way is a controlled library system, right? So the pro of this is that it controls the quality of objects and reduces the issues in the library. It does take more time to review the added objects library. It means that someone in your office is usually designated as that control point, which means you've got to assign someone and then they become responsible for managing and testing and reviewing those library parts. So, I think this is probably the best way to do it, honestly, because this way you are assured that all of your objects go through some sort of control and quality review before they go into your office library system, which just is going to reduce issues that you have with your projects. Steps to do that would be to create a master office library folder with whatever subfolders you want on your network server or your local system, and then set up some sort of a folder sharing permission system. It could be a simple one like you have on the Mac, where you simply click on the folder and set your sharing and permissions. It could be more. There could be other options that you could do that as well. But the general idea is you create a sharing and permission system that allows one person to be able to read and write into that folder, and everybody else can read only. And then loading that Office Library folder, on projects, you basically just simply bring up your library manager, click the Add button, go locate that master Office Library, and then add that to your project. You can also choose to create a LCF. Now, the advantage of the LCF, it's a library container file, is that it will load quicker because everything is contained. It also means that people on the project can't haphazardly just add stuff into it. So this is another way for, if you're doing a controlled kind of way for your office library, is to have a library folder of which one person has access to be able to update that, change it, etc. And then when they do change it, they create an LCF library. And the way that they do that is to go to go to the File menu, go to Libraries and Objects, and go Create Container, at which point they're going to choose which library they want to create the library container from. In this case, the loaded library of the Master Office Library they will select. They're going to give that container a name, and it will be followed with an extension of .lcf. And then you can add that master library.lcf to your project just like you would add a folder. The advantage, again, is that it's going to load faster, and it also means that people can't haphazardly just add stuff to it because it's a contained, kind of like a zip file, it's a contained single file that has all of your master office library objects within it. And that is our tip of the week.